Welcome to Botanical Trails Through the Juniper Forest. I'm your host, Brian Heater. Each week, I'll have a different guest join me to explore a pair of interesting gins. We'll chat a little bit about the gin and the distilleries, throw in a bit of trivia, hopefully laugh a bit, and then we'll go off the beaten path. Although I say that this is a podcast about gin, really this is just an excuse for me to spend time with my friends. But that'll just be our secret. Okay, let's start exploring. This is episode 1 of Botanical Trails. I'm your host, Brian, and my very first guest is Jerry Muscat-Martin. Jerry, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Brian. I'm happy to be here.
Well, thanks for being sort of my guinea pig and first guest. The first gin that we are trying today is Monkey 47, and we'll talk a little bit more about the distillery and the drink in a few minutes here. But first, just to kind of kick things off, quick question. You're my first guest, and I specifically wanted you to be my first guest. Do you have a guess as to why I wanted you to kind of kick this series off with me?
Well, I have to imagine it has something to do with gin. I gotta think we enjoyed gin and tonics together a long time ago, but I don't know the exact reason. No,
well, I mean, you're on the right track. So, for me, growing up, I had a lot of relatives who enjoyed gin, especially my Aunt Dee. But for me, gin was always basically like Tanqueray or Bombay Sapphire. And then when I was in my 30s, my sister Amy lives in Madison, Wisconsin. She introduced me to a distillery over there called Death's Door. They made a vodka and a gin and a couple of other things. Right now, actually, they only do gin, but it was good. But it was, it's kind of London dry gin, pretty simple overall, I would say. So, but really tasty. Like, I really enjoyed that gin. But you're right. You and I met and we started hanging out, and I can't remember exactly the reason, but it may have been for a birthday. You brought a present over one day, and that present was Monkey 47 gin.
Wow.
And you were like, hey, let's try this. And I think you had maybe had it before, but I hadn't, and I had never tasted a gin like this before. Like, I'm not super fancy, but I think people call this a very, like, complex gin. I think it can be, it's called Monkey 47 because there's 47 botanicals in it. But I just had never had a gin like that. And that sort of made me want to just try a bunch of other gins, which I have done over the past few years, which led me to start to joke around with friends about starting this podcast. And I just thought it'd be the perfect way to kind of start this whole series off. So thanks to you, I have really enjoyed exploring the world of gin, and I'm pretty excited to have you as my first guest. So,
well, I'm happy to be here, and yeah, this is a heck of a gin, this Monkey 47. I don't know how they could get that many botanicals, but 47 of them.
Yeah, so this is a gin out of Germany. It is from Black Forest Distillers. I will probably pronounce this wrong, but it's Lauberg, Germany, is where they are based out of. This is just kind of their, regular gin, Monkey 47, that you can find all over the place. In
Schwarzwald dry gin, so.
Yes. So, and in doing a bit of research, it looks like they have 2 other gins, although I've never seen them, but like a slow gin and then a variation. But it looks like they will occasionally put out different varieties, or they'll change the botanicals a little bit. And if you ever want to kind of go down a monkey hole, go check out their website. It is one of the most like elaborate websites I've ever seen for any company. Right, but I was trying to calculate like how many gins they have. I just ended up getting lazy. But at one point, they had like 15 different variations that they've bottled at least over the years. And I'm sure there's more because I just sort of stopped because I thought maybe I was looking at the wrong thing. But it seems like they have a lot of variations. But I'm guessing maybe you have to be like in Germany to get those, or maybe visit the distillery.
I've only seen this one here, and I've seen it at a handful of shops in the area. Not many, but a handful. But I've only seen this one variety yet. I'd love to try the other 14.
Yeah, no, I've only
more.
seen this variety as well. But today's gin and tonic with the Monkey 47 is Monkey 47 gin, 2 ounces of that. It has elderflower fever tree tonic water, and then a little bit of fresh lime. Jerry's has the lime in. Some reason started doing a thing where I just squeeze the lime juice in, but don't put the lime in. But that is today's. The reason I selected the elderflower tonic is I've experimented with this gin with like different tonics, and I feel this one complements it the best and really brings out some of the different flavors and botanicals. So,
cheers,
my friend. So one quick little thing, as I mentioned when I was doing the research this morning on this distillery, it talks about this gin was found from a gentleman who had served in the Royal Air Force, then had retired to Germany in the Black Forest Hills area, but he really missed gin from back home in England. He had bought a guest house that he would run as a business, and so he started distilling his own gin. Like years later, in this house, they found this gin recipe, and so this distillery started to mix this gin together. But when I tried to look this guy up, because I'm a little bit of a World War II buff, I didn't find this guy like anywhere outside of anything that was tied back to Monkey 47. So not sure if it's a real guy or kind of just a story that they came up to make the gin, but it's a great story, and it's a really tasty gin. So
Montgomery Collins.
Yeah.
That's the man.
Yep.
I'm reading the back of the bottle here.
So it talks about, I think, how it ties together like things from India, botanicals like from the Germany, and then like the tradition of London gin or something along those lines, right?
Yeah. The great British traditions, exoticness of India, and the purity and nativeness of the Black Forest. Is that in Germany?
Yes.
And they use distilled from 47 unusual botanicals. Yeah.
So like I said, like on their website, I think one of the pages lists out like every botanical that they do. That website's amazing. So
I'll have to check it out.
It's a really kind of like rabbit hole that you can go down. But this is just, I definitely still feel this is one of the more interesting, like I said, sort of like complex gins. It's definitely a gin I wouldn't like give to someone right off the bat if they haven't tried gin before, because it is just kind of a little bit different. But it's just I don't know. It's a really enjoyable, like, fun gin.
Yeah, it's unique. There's a ton of flavors that come out. I've had it on the rocks before, which I don't typically do gin on the rocks. I mean, I will sometimes, but if I am and I have Monkey 47, that's what I'm going to use, and it's pretty flavorful to just do, even by itself. Obviously, with this tonic, it's really good. There's a ton of unique flavors. Similar to you, growing up, not growing up, but like when I started drinking, in my 20s, I like associated gin is from like the Snoop Dogg song Gin and Juice.
Oh, okay.
Just a really simple gin. I just thought it tasted like pine needles, and I didn't really care for it. But then, I must have discovered tonic at some point, and someone, maybe my aunts or somebody, had a gin and tonic, and it's like the perfect drink, really. Yeah,
I mean, I would have gin, but I would say in my 20s and even through a good chunk of my 30s, really vodka was the spirit that I would go with. But I slowly just got more interested in gin, and then, like I said, really, you kind of like just kick that door open. And then since then, I've really just tried just like a bunch of gins. But the funny thing is, so there's a great website. If you like gin, there's this website called The Gin Is In, and they review a bunch of like different gins and award winners from all the different years, and they'll review tonics, and they give like cocktail recipes. It's a fun website if you like gins. But the other day when I was just doing some research for this, I was like, well, how many of these episodes could I really do? I'll probably only end up doing 3. This show won't really get it going. But I was like, what would I do? But I went and looked over the past winners from the past 3 years, I think is what I took a look at. And out of all of those gins, I think literally I only tried 3. A lot of them I had never even heard of.
Oh, you hadn't even heard of them?
Yeah.
So we got a lot of gins to try.
Yeah, so there's just and I've tried a lot of gins the past couple of years, but I'm like, man, there are just so many. And it's just great. And I've, been able to try gins. It seems to be a very popular spirit to distill. So, my hope is as the series goes along, we're going to try some from all different parts of the world. But I've tried some from South Africa, Japan, Italy, Spain, plenty of distilleries in the U.S. It's just
it's super popular. I had learned. We went on, you and I and some others went on that tour of a distillery.
Yeah, here in Grand Rapids, we went to Long
Road. And I think that's where I learned in order for it to be gin legally, it has to have juniper in it.
That is correct.
Which is that pine needle flavor that I mentioned earlier. But it's just, I don't know, it just works so well with that neutral spirit. And it just makes this really, really good drink.
Yeah, the juniper, I think to your point, turns some people off. My sister-in-law always jokes that she likes gin and tonics because for her, she says it tastes like Christmas. So
yeah,
and but there are some gins that have a very the juniper's not really that present, or you don't notice it as much.
Right.
There are others that are very juniper forward. And
I think that's the dry gin, right? If it's dry, like London dry gin is the classic juniper. I think I'm right there.
Yeah.
That's the classic kind of juniper forward London dry. I didn't know what that was. Someone asked me at a bar once, and I had no idea. A bartender, asked me what kind of gin I wanted, and they explained it. I said, "Yeah, that's the one I want. I want that juniper forward." Now this has 47 botanicals, but obviously it's a dry gin. You can taste the juniper, but all these other flavors are coming through as well.
Yeah, it's a good one. So that is today's, and then the other gin that we'll do, I'll talk about that as well. But the interesting thing about these 2 distilleries that I also found is, at least from looking it up, they both only distill gin.
Only gin.
Only gin, yes. So that was kind of interesting. But that's definitely their specialties and kind of what they go after. But yeah, they only do gin here at the Black Forest, it appears. So
I read this on the bottle, and I don't really. It sounded interesting. I don't know that I can go into any kind of detail, but it says distilled from molasses. So they must use a neutral spirit that's distilled from molasses.
Oh, yeah.
Which I had not seen before. I can't remember when we went to Long Road what they said they start with. They start with some sort of clear neutral spirit, and then add the botanicals in. But they must make it out of molasses. I wonder if that factors into why this is so good.
Yeah, and also from online, it looks like if you find yourself in this area, you can go tour this distillery as well. So,
I would love
and then
to
I
do
bet
that.
you could find some of the different variations there. Would be my guess. So,
yeah, I would love to find the variations.
Yeah.
Interesting story. So when I was at, I think one of my first, when I really started liking gin, my wife and I went to Northern Latitudes, which is in Michigan. We've been there.
Yeah, we went there, March?
Yeah. Just as earlier this year. And we were doing a tasting. They make a variety of things. One of them is this gin that I really liked. But there was a group also doing a tasting. And the bartender that's serving it says, take a sip by itself, swish it around your mouth. You can get the flavors, and told us about the botanicals they had, and I can't remember them now. But there was a gentleman next to us that was tasting, and he said, once I get past the pine flavor, I can really taste the juniper. And my wife and I couldn't help but laugh a little bit. And the bartender obviously explained it to him, but I just thought that was pretty funny. I'm not normally good at tasting notes and all of those things with, wines and whiskeys and whatever else they do that with. But I just thought that was pretty funny. If you get past the get past the pine, you can really taste the juniper. And I was like, yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's great. I am the same. Like, over the course of this series, I will not be very articulate, but I will be able to say, like, this is, like, really smooth, or, like, this is why I like it. And but yeah, I feel I have a pretty sort of simple palate. It won't be super descriptive, but hopefully we'll be able to introduce some good gins to everyone. So we're just about to wrap this drink up, but did you want to do the first question of gin trivia?
Yeah, we have some gin trivia here. I read this one already, and I thought it was funny because I more like the question than the answer, but I'll read it to you, see if you can get it. Question. Which UK Prime Minister said, "The gin and tonic has saved more Englishmen's lives and minds than all the doctors in the Empire"?
I believe it was Winston Churchill.
Yeah, that's correct.
From what I've read, definitely enjoyed gin.
Yeah, I mean, it just tells you about, I mean, gin and tonic saved more lives and minds than anything else, than any doctors. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'll have to...
They like to drink, I guess.
Oh, gin is, like, super popular there. Yeah, there's some funny, like, facts going back about that, so we'll have to get into those. So, well, let's take a quick break, and I will go get our second drink ready, and then we'll pick up from there.
Sounds good.
All right. This will be our second half of the show, and our second gin today is from Distillers of Surrey, which is based over in England, and it is Sherlock Sons gin. This is their Nautical edition. They only distill 3 gins. There's the Nautical, which comes in a blue bottle, then their Aromatic edition, which comes in like a pink bottle, and their Solstice edition, which is... Oh, I'm sorry. That's in the pink bottle. The Aromatic edition is in their green bottle. But it is a gin that my sister Lori introduced me to. One of her best friends lives in London. Lori brought me a bottle back a couple of years ago, and I've been lucky enough to get to try all 3 of their gins. They're delicious. The only bad news is, as far as I can tell, this is unavailable in the United States, so you'll need to have a friend who's in London or visiting London pick you up a bottle. But that is our second gin today. Have you had a chance to try it yet, Jer?
I have. It's good. It's strong. So I'm looking at the bottle, as you say that, it says right on here, for the UK market. 57% alcohol, so it's 114 proof. That must be the Nautical edition.
Yeah, maybe their Navy strength. Navy strength is always like a bit more potent.
A little bit more potent. It's a beautiful bottle.
I love the bottle.
The label is great. There's no like story or anything on it like the others, and there's not even a warning.
Yeah, no, it's a really simple bottle. It's got a really cool like glass stopper up top.
Batch number 4.
Yeah, it's a relatively new distillery. I believe they only started in like 2017, 2018, so they haven't been around that long. Again, just like the Monkey 47, they only distill gin. This is a London dry gin. There's 9 botanicals in it. They actually don't list what they are, but it is just one of my favorites. It's probably in my definitely top 10, maybe my top 5. It's just a really good London dry gin.
Yeah.
Really tasty. This is based sort of on their recipe. So for each gin, they sort of list the best way to have it. And this one is Indian Premium Tonic. I went with the light because although it's the start of winter as we're recording episode 1, before you know it's going to be bathing suit season. So you want to, but I went with they say do the Indian Premium Tonic and a twist of lime.
Fever Tree.
And the Fever Tree, yep. And then just over a bunch of ice. And that's exactly what I did. And it's great. I've also tried this with the Fever Tree Mediterranean Tonic. And I think that goes really well with it as well. But I just decided to take their advice for what they felt was the best way to make it, and that's what I put together here. So.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. I could see going with any tonic though. So on the bottle it says quintessentially English on this kind of simple bottle here, but that's dead on. I mean, this is your London Dry gin. This is just your a classic gin. It's delicious.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good gin. But that is our second option, our second one for today. So.
Stronger than expected. I wouldn't have noticed actually had I not read the bottle. But yeah, it's nice.
But it doesn't come across like I feel when you're drinking it. You don't. It does. It's not like, oh, this is a really like strong spirit.
Right, which could be dangerous.
Yeah. But it's also real. I don't know. It's just a good one. So, and I have found, at least for me lately, I'm really enjoying the different London Dry, like that sort of gin. And in one of the future episodes, I'll take some time and I'll kind of dive into. There's a couple different variations of gin. London Dry is, sort of like I would say the classic gin, like you had described earlier. It's very juniper forward, but it's just. All
right, so I don't know the answer to this.
Okay,
but maybe you looked it up. Did gin like start in England? Is that where it originated? Do we know this?
So there's a couple different
look
theories.
It up pretty easy, but I have a feeling you may have already looked into this a touch.
I did, a little bit. Let me just pull it up because it goes back and forth, sort of between the Netherlands, and England.
Sure,
are where it's kind of described that it was originally developed.
Yeah, I mean, you got a neutral spirit, which is flavorless. I guess it's just really strong alcohol, and then. You got to put something in it, and someone found these juniper berries, I guess, and infused it a long time ago. I think it's probably English, but it could be Netherlands.
So from the research I started doing like over the summer, those were the two places that really kind of had talked about it. But if you get like Malfi gin, which is an Italian gin. Yeah. I think on their bottle they talk about kind of starting it. But the name gin derives from the word Genevieve, which is Old English, Genevieve, which I totally pronounce wrong, French, or Genever, which is Dutch. They're all derivatives of the Latin word juniperus, meaning juniper.
Juniper,
yes.
Right. Yeah,
so that's why I think it's sort of thought that it started like in either like England, like the British Isles, or the Netherlands.
Yeah, that makes sense.
With those words. I have not seen anywhere, although that one listing was French, I've not seen anywhere that France has ever taken credit for creating gin. So, but Navy Strength, I'll look it up too. Navy Strength gin, there's something about that. Like the gin has to be a certain strength. And the reason it came about was to keep it kind of together for the long voyages, like for the English Navy back in the day. So, but if you ever get a gin that says it's Navy Strength, it is a bit more potent than a normal gin. So just buyer beware.
You got it. I don't know anything about that, but I could take some guesses. One, you got to have gin if you're going on a long voyage or some kind of booze. And then you probably are trying to maybe save space, so they wanted some stronger gin to have.
Yeah, well, and they probably just mixed it with like lime or lemon to keep scurvy away then too.
It's like it's meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Navy Strength gin. There you go. You put some citrus in there. Yeah. Yeah, this is good. This probably I wouldn't have on the rocks like I would the Monkey 47. Probably because of the strength, I guess, but it's really good in this. What did you say? Which tonic is it?
This is the Fever Tree, the light premium. So it's kind of like the light blue bottle.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
it's good.
So you had talked about, in or the first half of the show, you had talked about when you and Olivia had gone and you guys were like sampling. You took a little sip. So if you want, I have poured a small amount of both of these gins. If you would like to sort of try just these
let's
two
put our palate to
doing
the
that.
test.
So,
And we both said we don't have strong palates, but we'll do it anyway.
so what do you want to start with the Sherlock and Sons, because we're currently drinking that one, and then we can eat a peanut
logic.
or whatever to clean our palate here. So
I'm smelling it, and it smells awfully neutral. A little bit of juniper.
yeah, it really just sort of smells like alcohol.
Yeah. That's what it smells like. Yeah, it's strong.
It's strong,
It's
but
good,
it's
though.
really. But to your point, it's really pretty smooth. Like you don't
It's
get a
pretty
big
smooth.
You
It's
don't get
pretty
the big
smooth.
like juniper flavor actually off of it.
No.
Like I could maybe drink that right off the rocks. Like
Well,
it'd be a
I mean,
pretty
I could.
like yeah, but it'd be a pretty like
Yeah.
neutral one. So okay, and then
At home, not at the bar, probably.
of course, like at home, or if your friend's coming over, they spend the night. You know, we're trying to do this all in a responsible
Right.
fashion. So,
Right,
and
so
then
now we got
I also
Monkey
did the
47.
little Monkey 47. So I think this one will.
You can smell it, and when you smell
Yeah,
it,
it's a bit different.
it's a lot of botanicals come off it. Obviously, there's a lot more. Now, we didn't know earlier, but this is 47% alcohol, which is 94 proof, which is more than your standard 80 proof gin. You know, your Tanqueray or Bombay or whatever. So this is strong by itself, and then the Sherlock is even stronger a little bit.
Yeah. All right. Let's give the Monkey 47 a little try here.
Now that's really smooth. Really smooth.
It is. It actually gives less of that like alcohol burning sensation.
Yeah,
when you
there's
do
not
that.
a lot of burning sensation with this, but somehow.
But it's to your point. I think you can taste definitely like more of the botanicals in it. But they have over 5 times the amount of botanicals. So that's
Yeah,
not
it's
surprising.
got but you know, that's what you expect when you buy a Monkey 47. The price point's a little higher. It's definitely a premium, and as far as gins go, you know, that's what you'd expect if you're gonna buy a bottle of this. You want it to be smooth, easy to drink, you know, flavorful.
Yeah, I would definitely say those 3 things are something that I always find I really enjoy in a good gin. It's got good flavor, it's smooth, and whatever the third thing is that you said. So it's good.
I don't remember now.
Yeah. Okay. We're coming up on, I think, what's going to be my favorite part of the show, which will be off the beaten path, and I will describe how that works in a second. But before we get to that, did you want to do another gin trivia, and I can ask you this question?
Yeah, you can mix them up if you want. I don't think
Have you been cheating? Have you been looking at these?
You know, I read some of those when I got them a while back, but it's been like 2 years since I got them.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, maybe a year.
And you realize you have to leave these here now because I need them
I'm
for
happy
the
to
show.
leave them here.
So.
I'm happy to leave them.
Okay. I'm not sure if this took place in England or the U.S., but in what year was the Gin Act introduced, which lowered the license fee and put an end to, quote, the gin craze? 1731, 1751, or 1791?
It's called the Gin Act.
Yeah, so my guess is this would have been in England because we
it's
weren't even a
probably
country
in
yet
Europe.
at
And
1751.
it was supposed to put an end to the gin craze.
Yeah, so the gin craze. So this would have been a law that was passed, the Gin Act. This would have been in
Yes, I
in
mean,
England,
you know,
so.
in terms of like my you know, European or British like acts and laws in the 18th century, I'm not really too good about that period of history in terms of those. So I'm going to go with 1791. Was that one of them?
Yeah, your 3 choices are 1731.
I'll go 1791.
91. 40 years earlier, the answer is 1751.
Yeah,
so we'll have
that's
to
good to
look
know.
and figure out like what the gin craze was.
I assume people were drinking a lot of gin.
Yeah,
I mean,
this
you're in the
lowered-
1700s.
This lowered the license fee, so that makes me think that even more people would have started producing it. I don't know. We'll have to look that up. But the gin craze of 1751 maybe
I feel
a
like
little
in
something
terms
to
of
check out.
difficulty, the one before with Winston Churchill was significantly easier.
That
I
was
only know
much
maybe
easier.
3 prime ministers.
Yeah,
That
was way easier. Yeah.
Even though that was
So I appreciate you
choice.
tossing me that softball. So
Yeah, you're welcome. The gin craze. We'll have to check that out.
the gin craze of
The British and
1751.
their gin, they do like it.
Yeah, they love it. So, all right, we will go to sort of the final segment of the show. It's called Off the Beaten Path. Okay. Sort of my idea for this is the guest and I will come up with a movie or a TV series or an album or a book, but something that we really enjoy, but we think is sort of not well known, but we think, people should know about it because it's really good for like whatever reason. And we will each come up with one. And would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
No, I'm happy to go first. So,
okay.
You had told me about this a little while ago, so I had prepared a little bit, started thinking, I'm typically, in terms of movies and such, I like some things that are off the beaten path, but I'm probably more mainstream. Music-wise, there was a lot to choose from, but, I'm a big basketball fan, so I kept coming to, different basketball things, and the one that came to mind was this, it was an HBO movie from 1996 called Rebound, The Legend of Earl the Goat Manigault.
I've not heard of this.
So it stars Don Cheadle, but it's 1996, so it's it's a long time ago now. I would have been a teenager at the time, and it was a story of this basketball legend, Earl Manigault, played by Don Cheadle, it's set in Harlem in the 1960s, and this guy's an amazing basketball player, street ball legend.
So this is a true story?
It's based on a true story. Okay. I'm sure there's some liberties. It was, I had to look some of the stuff up, but it was directed by Eric LaSalle. I don't know if you know who, he was in ER. You look up his IMDb, Eric LaSalle's all over the place. He's in the movie. He's not the lead, but, he was in ER for several years with... Clooney, right? Yeah,
and Goose.
But he's got his own production company, and he's in all this stuff. So he directed it. Don Cheadle. I doubt it's his first movie or anything like that, but I think it's definitely earlier in his career. And anyway, Kevin Garnett plays Wilt Chamberlain. There's a street ball game between Harlem, which has Earl Manigault, and then. Some other, I don't know, borough or city or something in there. So Kevin Garnett is, I don't even know if he's in the NBA yet or he's about to be drafted. So he's 19, 20 years old. They have him playing a teenage Wilt Chamberlain. Earl Manigault, dunks on him or something. I haven't seen it in a few years, but beats him. It's pretty cool. And it's actually pretty sad too. So he's amazing. He's gifted at basketball. He can jump. They have these scenes where he jumps and gets a dollar bill off the top of the backboard.
Off the top of the backboard?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that's I kind of looked it up, and they said, that's more urban legend that he was able to do that, but, so they go through that, but he gets into drugs and doesn't really make it to the NBA or progress through college or any of those things, even though he had all these gifts. So it's kind of sad in that regard, but, I thought Don Cheadle was really good in it. I thought the story was good. I love basketball. They had these street ball games, which were really cool. So I think that one is one I would recommend.
All right, and what was that one called again?
It's called Rebound.
Rebound. Okay. Yeah. I've not heard of that or seen that, so I'll have to go check that one out. So, nice. All right. Mine today is actually a series from Netflix. It's called Godless. It's kind of a Western, and it's probably about 5 years old. Came out in 2017, and I think it was right around the time when Netflix started producing their own series and stuff, when they were really starting to stream stuff and go this route. And if you remember, when the ads first came out about the show, that they were making it sound like the gist of the show was it was a Western about this town out west that was run by women. So, and that concept sounded interesting just like on its own. It ended up being a couple of years before I actually watched the series, but then when I watched it, what I found was that was really only like about a third of the show. Like the reason that these women ended up running this town, it's that itself is an interesting story, but there's a lot more to this series from that, and it is just full of what I thought were some really interesting, like rich characters. It's a good story that's told. It's only one season, so you don't have to watch multiple seasons for it. We're based here in Michigan. Jeff Daniels from Michigan. He's one of the characters in the show. But if you enjoy either Westerns or if you enjoy really good, strong, character-driven shows, I would definitely recommend going out and checking out Godless. It is just, I think, just like a gem that's out there that people just don't know. I think it was early when streaming was just kind of getting started, so a lot of people, may not have caught it. Like at that point, I personally was still probably just renting DVDs on Netflix. So, but it is just a really well done, good show, and I would recommend checking out that series when you have a chance. So,
I actually watched the first episode of it not too long ago. We haven't finished it yet, but I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah. Did you like the first episode?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. Olivia and I watched it together, and we got to finish it, though. But that was just recently, we found it. You said it came out in 2018?
17, I think, yeah.
And they only did one season?
One season, yeah. It was just a one season, so it's, it's just a good standalone story on its own. But, I remember I remember starting to check it out, and I was really expecting a show based on the trailer, sort of, that was going to be very much driven around, this town run by women. And like I said, that is definitely a part of the show, but it's like maybe a third of it.
Okay.
And the show is just richer and deeper than just that story. I mean, that story would have been good on its own, but they wrapped it into these other stories, and it's just, it's worth a watch. So glad to hear actually that you started watching it, and I think you guys will like it.
All right. No, it's a film. We'll have to watch episode 2.
Yeah. Well, this will wrap up episode 1. So again, Jared, really, I can't thank you enough for deciding to come on and kick this whole thing off, and really appreciate it. And again, thank you very much actually to introducing me to really the world of gins, and hopefully people will enjoy this series as we check out a couple different ones that I've sampled, or new ones that may come in between now and then. So,
thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to subscribe to us on whichever platform you listen to your podcasts. Also, I want to take a quick minute to thank Darin VanderMolen for all of his help behind the scenes. Without him, this podcast probably wouldn't even exist, and his help is greatly appreciated. Hope you have a great week, and we will look forward to seeing you the next time we go down the botanical trails. This has been a Shits and Giggles production.